Counting the.
Cost of customer service and supply chain food manufacturing company.
Wow. So, customer service and logistics. What is that about?
Well, normally when you say customer service, a lot of people think that it's customer service. Hello, this is so and so. How can I help you? But there is a lot of different customer service field, I suppose, and my field is actually on the logistics supply chain things. So basically, cut the story short, it's not a call center customer service, as many people would think, or a teller in the banking industry. But it's more on administration and make sure that the order is processed from receiving to delivery.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's and it's a food manufacturing company, or I should say food trading company. So we are a global company as well. And it started off in UK, and then we have head office in UK, US, and the Asia Pacific side is in Australia, New Zealand is yeah, parts like the sort of like dotted line Asia Pacific. So yeah,
Oh. So it's a
like
it's a UK. It's based on in the UK, and then most of the
the the
most.
parent company started off in UK.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then the food items are mainly coming from Asia Pacific.
The food items, it's actually imported from different sources, mainly in either the UK's or from America, because we have the manufacturing site there.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a bit like food manufacturing, yeah, food trading, yeah, but we supply the raw material basically
Oh,
in
okay.
a food manufacturing company in Australia and all over the world.
So whatever British people, British farmers and American farmers grow will be imported to different parts of the world, and you guys.
That's right.
Mm.
We actually have customers in Korea,
Oh,
but
really?
it's a like yeah. We actually supply Korean food manufacturing, and
Oh.
but it's mainly dealt with our colleagues in Singapore because that's sort of like the main head office
Oh.
back to the Asia.
Oh, I see. So you
Yeah.
said receiving and ordering. So who typically orders and who typically receives?
Hmm. Who typically orders the orders our end customers are the food manufacturing, like the like of Nestle, even Sanitarium, Coca-Cola, those bottling company, um, and Kellogg's, um, some of those, those are the big food manufacturing. So they typically order from us,
Oh.
and I process the order in a system, and then yeah, process it until the delivery when they need it.
Oh. So
So
so who delivers?
delivers would be our warehouse. At the moment, we don't have our um, in-house, so we actually outsource it to a third-party logistics like warehousing. So
Mm.
they would keep our material, obviously with the method of batch manage. So each manufacturing or each production from America, they would be like labeled with batches, the year, the date, you name it, the hours and things like that. So if there is any issues with supply, let's say any, what do you call it? I wouldn't say faulty, but contamination, because we're in food, right? It's for human consumption.
Yeah.
So if there is any contamination or a recall of what sorts, then we can run those batch in our report, and we just advise all the customers that particularly take that batch and recall it. So the warehouse store those materials for us based on those batches. We call it FIFO
Okay.
or whatever that's earlier, we make sure that we deliver it first, and yeah, just just like that. So we don't hold up. We don't particularly hold on to the old stocks and write it off in the end if it's past the expiry date, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So food manufacturing companies need to make their products, and they need your supplies that are grown in the UK and in America, and you pretty much take those produce from those places, the raw material, and then you hand it over to those companies so they can make food items that we end up consuming on our tables,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Wow.
That's right.
So how did you become interested in that industry?
Well, it's a bit of a story. Because I um, I used to when I first graduated from high school, I used to and then I applied to bachelor degrees. I did chemical engineering
Oh.
2.5 years, thinking that I love experimenting, I love mixing things, and then kaboom. But that was what the idea in my mind. But at the same time, I like to interact with people as well. So I thought chemical engineering can give me a bit of a mixture of the two. Still, that I know it's not. It made me quite depressed. I hit rock bottom then. I just like, yeah, that's probably a different story.
Wow.
um, yeah, and one night when I was, I think might have been first year of that degree, chemical engineering, I saw a truck drove past. It was a Coca-Cola truck with, the Christmas, Santa, logo, slogan, whatever. I thought, oh, that would be cool if I could work in a Coca-Cola company, like so flashy. Anyway, so that was at the back of my mind. I was like, yeah,
Mm.
right, that's not gonna happen. It's probably like, they will employ a straight PhD students, unlike, me. But our family has always been also has always been passionate about food. Like we love
Oh.
I love my food. I don't
Oh.
like I don't like cooking. I like baking slash
Oh.
it's I did my hobby in baking,
Oh.
uh, and learn from there.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like cooking, but I like good food.
Oh. Okay.
So if during lockdown I can't go out anywhere, guess what I'm doing? And I'm sure that the food that I cook is edible.
Wow.
So yeah, I can't go back home to my home country, like my hometown in Indonesia, to sort of like reminiscing the flavors and things. But during lockdown, I just experimented with different spices and stuff. And so yeah, I started to sort of cook
Wow.
a bit more.
So you're.
And continuing, as I bit digress there.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
So chemical engineering, passionate about food, like our family. It's all about good food and good time with family. And it's always revolved around food,
Uh huh.
right?
Yeah.
It's always revolved around food. And so after I graduated, I actually did graduate from chemical engineering. I graduated in a business degree.
Uh huh.
And one of the earlier job that I took on was in a chemical trading company.
Oh.
It was on a customer service role, and I learned a lot from there. I
Oh.
learned system, um, I learned the whole trading thing, the whole logistics on first-hand experience, and my team leader was great at that time as well. She's an old lady and smoking cigarettes, like oh, but she was really good. Like she
Oh.
knows the system inside out. Like she was
Wow.
in the industry for about 20 plus years. Anyway, so I quit that job and I went to Korea
Oh.
for yeah,
Uh huh.
and Yeah, that's how I met you. And when I come back, it's just I was thinking, yeah, I think I would like to go to a food company.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I prayed about it.
Uh-huh.
I actually prayed two conditions that I prayed. I prayed
Mm.
that um, God would open doors for me to work in a food manufacturing company,
Uh-huh.
and the location of the company should be by the water.
Wow.
I was actually aiming for one big company.
Uh-huh.
It's back then it was called Lion Dairy. It was a Japanese-based company,
Oh.
and their head office actually by the
Oh.
riverbank.
Okay.
So it's like in my mindset, if I'm stressed, I could at least go down and go for a walk by the waterfront, you know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So here, and lo and behold, it opened doors,
Uh-huh.
not quite at the riverside, but the company, the office that I'm in now is actually situated in front of the lake.
Wow. So you wanted the specific location and you want it somewhere nearby water.
Yeah,
And then the door opened.
yeah.
Wow. So when you were working for the chemical trading company,
Mm-hmm.
is it a lot different from your current food trading company?
When you say different, how different do you mean? Like, what
Maybe
in what
maybe
sense?
the way you um treat items or the way it works or people's attitude
Um,
or is it pretty much about the same, I guess.
it's more or less the same.
Okay.
I learned a lot from that company, that chemical company.
Okay.
It's a big company, and it's the people, the team there. I think it's the whole building is like 10-story build, 10 stories.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a big company. It's a global chemical company as well. They have different businesses.
Oh.
Um, in terms of career movement wise, when you're in a big company and a lot of people are comfortable there, career improvement or career development, it's very slow.
Oh.
Especially like in my experience, because I started off in an entry level, and the customer service, I thought, oh yeah, there will be young people and things like that, but there are actually like women with children and things like that are actually working in the company. So in terms of career move, it's actually quite slow.
Oh.
But the job itself, the work responsibility and the tasks is quite hands on.
Oh. I see.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas the current one, um, we are a close knit family in
Mm.
our home office. There are mainly the salespeople are working from home,
Mm.
uh, and the the office can probably just fit 10 people,
Okay.
but the people are putting on multiple hats, and
Ah.
they are they are respecting they are respectful towards one another.
Mm.
Yeah, they're just willing to help one
Mm.
another when there is a time in need. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
So I guess it's a probably a very different atmosphere, I guess, when you are working at a very big place. It may be stable, but
Mhm.
probably the career development, as you said, it can be very slow. So, but
Yeah.
now right now you're working at a little bit smaller place that have different people handling multiple tasks. So and you say it's a family atmosphere. So and you really help each other. So which company would you say you fit better?
Um, when I was younger, I probably one year they actually gave me a free ticket to go to the Australian Open
Wow.
corporate. That includes luncheon and things.
Wow.
So yeah, that was like really cool. They have like different perks.
Mm.
In terms of health insurance, they pay the gap.
Oh.
Then, but now I think things are a bit different.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, like the end of the year functions and things like that. It's always flash places, but there's always one thing that often make me say no to those kind of events because they always organize it on the Friday night.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. So it's a bit tough not to join.
Oh, I see.
If they do it on Thursday night, some people may not like it because they can't smash the alcohol as much because the next day they have to work.
Ah, they have to work.
Yeah, because like that's the only event when they just like don't waste it and company pay.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Not out of their own pocket, but
I see. So
yeah,
I guess there were a lot of benefits that you could enjoy, but at the same time, the social life can be rough because you have to say no all the time. So I guess that's what you experienced. So right now, how many years have you worked for this company?
for this food trading manufacturing company, I think it's about 4 years now.
4 years now.
Yeah, it's about more or less 4 years coming to my fifth year.
Fifth year. Okay. So when you were teaching in Korea and when you compare three different jobs, what did you say about the second and third one? How was your transition?
So after Korea, you mean?
Uh huh. Uh huh.
So after Korea, so between Korea and my current job, I actually was working in a logistic and waste company. So after Korea, I actually pretty much felt um, afraid that I couldn't find a job,
Okay.
and at that time I was my like no, of course I shouldn't say my parents. Our family sort of decided to build a house, and so I've been saving up for the house as well. And slowly the saving is diminishing.
Uh
And I come back from Korea, obviously I don't have any income, right?
huh. Uh huh.
Well, stress pretty much hit at that time, and I remember I just prayed and just in the midst of my depression, continue to apply for jobs.
Mm.
And so I got a job. I landed a job in a logistic and waste management company.
Mm.
Um, I think it's about not very long after I come back.
Mhm.
I thought it would take me a bit longer,
Uh huh.
but thank God and I praise God that He opened that door for me.
Mm.
I think when I come back from Korea, that was, I think, our Australian conference, our Australian youth church. We were organizing a really super big KYC
Oh.
that we planned. Our objectives is to open it up to international as well,
Oh.
not statewide. Statewide, because in the past, the previous conferences,
Uh huh.
previously it was only like national, just the
Okay.
statewide,
Uh huh.
and slowly grew. But this time, that year, 2013,
Uh huh.
it was the time where we had a TNT project, Training New Timothy project, leading up to the AYC that attracts the global. So on the TNT project, starting in 2013, we did have a few overseas delegates
Uh huh.
that did training instead of a conference. It's a training, a hands-on training for
Oh.
about 2 weeks our local church
Uh-huh.
and doing outreach and things.
Oh.
So helping out with that. So I was looking for a job and helping out with that particular project and pray at the same time. And you know what? After the end of that project, I actually got a job.
Mm. Great.
So that project, the preparation obviously started from the beginning of 2013, but the actual project itself, when delegates all came from all different sorts of, all the way to German, from German.
Oh.
We have German candidates, Hong Kong, US candidates came and lodged with us for about 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Um, so at the end of that project, I think it was end of August, I also, in between that, I did an interview from this waste company. And one of the conditions was Sabbath, whether I need to work or not.
Mm.
And the other one was if I could start after that project,
Mm.
which he said not a problem for them.
Uh.
So at that time, I was like, okay, yeah, all right, that's fine. I haven't received an offer yet, but in my mind, those boxes already ticked. So the next couple of weeks, the formality of job hunting and work and stuff, they gave me an offer and we started right after the end of the project. And I
Oh.
could come and during the interview as well, I actually asked them whether I could take some time off in February 2014
Uh-huh.
because it was the big conference, the
Mm.
one that we aim to have about 1,000 delegates come to Melbourne.
Wow. I think I remember something like that.
Yeah, so that in my mind as I was doing my interview, my first round of interview, normally it's the company that gives you the outline, like, can you do this? But I felt like as though I'm actually giving them a condition of my employment. Even before they knew I was going to start, or even before they employed me. So, like, no company would actually give any annual leave in the first 6 months or 3 months of you starting.
Yeah.
Generally, they won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just gave them that condition first. They'd be like,
Wow.
take some time off during this period.
So,
So yeah, and so the rest is history. Yeah.
so for the sake of ministry, you demanded some time off in the beginning time of your employment, but then they did allow you to do it in the logistics and waste company.
Yeah. Actually, all of the three jobs that I had, all of the job interviews that I've had previously, um, I prayed first before I go into the interview.
Mm.
And if it is God's will, um, that He would open the door. My test is only one, whether I require to work on the Sabbath.
Mm.
And if they are a bit open and iffy about it,
Mm.
no, that's not the job.
Mm. Wow. You didn't even go there.
So I praise God for the from I graduated until now. I can't remember when I graduated. Pause there. Let's pause there.
Uh-huh.
From graduate from after graduating from bachelor degree till now, I probably have about in total of 10 interviews, 10 job interviews, and out of the 10 job interviews, I got a job. Like I only have like 4 employment so far in my
Wow. 4 out of 10.
yeah. No,
That's awesome.
didn't have too many interviews and rejection because I know that they can be very, very depressing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
I've talked to people that has, especially when they have accounting degrees. Um, I don't know, for some reason in the previous years, it's so hard to find jobs, accounting degrees. And not only that they receive letters of rejection, but interviews after interviews and seemingly positive interviews and comes to rejection, like really seriously, that's depressing. I don't know how I can. In my mind, I came back from Korea. I was kind of expecting that.
Yeah.
But it was only 6 months. I had to wait and then I got a job.
Wow. That's so it's been quite a journey in your job hunting. And do you feel like you were fit for the job every time you took on your different jobs, or did you feel like some jobs weren't really meant for you?
In terms of experience and skills, I think I could do it. The unsuccessful interviews that I've had, somehow I almost felt like there is an awkwardness during the interview. And when I have that, I know that I don't think it's an interview. It's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, yeah, it's almost like a sixth sense. The people that offered me job, the interview was actually it's quite similar to what we're doing now.
Okay, very casual.
Like,
Uh,
um, down to earth and no wishy-washy formalities and corporate BSness. Uh,
okay.
yeah, and when I have that sort of um, observations or discernment, you
Yeah.
can say,
Uh-huh.
or sixth sense maybe,
Yeah.
um, I have a positive feelings about it.
Wow. I guess when those people that interview you can tell you're comfortable and they're comfortable and you guys are hitting it off and you guys are having a great time, they know this is someone they can trust and actually hire.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I haven't had the privilege to ask my manager to say, hey, why did you hire me and stuff? Because I have had friends that were saying, um, that was telling me about their employment history. Like, they started off from coordinating roles, and then they moved up to managerial roles. And obviously they become the one that is sitting on that hiring position, right? And so they have the privilege to open up the interview criteria and the performance, why they were hiring and things like that. I haven't had that privilege to go up to that level and ask my manager because they would be like, my current manager say, my current manager would say, yeah, we just think that you're a good fit company. But I think behind the scene, they're like, you're pretty desperate too. So yeah,
So they don't really say much about why they hired you, but they probably had definite criteria they were looking into, right?
yeah. They would probably have like this, the discernment as well, whether they could fit with the whole culture of the company as well.
Mm,
Now that I'm within the company, because I know that when I first started with this current company, a couple of weeks or a couple of months afterwards, when my probation period was over, some of my colleagues, how office politics are, some of my colleagues were like, yeah, we weren't really sure about you, so we didn't want you too close first, and then all of a sudden you're like, bye bye. they sort of like hold off a little bit. They were just observing my behavior and the behavior how we could fit. Because my current company, they actually grow old together in the office.
You say what? What did you say?
they they grow old together in the office with their office. It's like their second home.
Ah, okay, 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 okay.
They have been working together for like 10 plus years.
Wow.
So when you have that kind of company, you know that the people there are good to you.
Uh-huh.
But if you have a company that has a very high turnover,
That's true, that's true, that's true.
that means you're just in it for the money.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Wow.
So with the current one, I could see that a lot of them are like persevere through the tough times that they have together. They look out for them.
Wow. I think when your relationship are vibrant and authentic, I think the productivity really goes up and people's satisfaction goes up and they're not going to go anywhere else.
I think it's also more like when you see the work attitude. Whether you go to a workplace and you push back all the time, where you say, this is not my responsibility, therefore it's yours. I'm not going to help. It's that kind of
Yeah,
attitude. You
yeah.
get that a
Uh-huh.
lot, and especially in logistic and warehouse. Logistic and warehousing, it's one of the industry or the one of the industry that is actually can be very toxic
Hmm.
because a lot of them are like that. A lot of them, especially like I'm not sure about different part of the world, but in Australia, a lot of the logistic and warehousing places, they have rough people, really rough people. Where they're short of numbers, they hire people just maybe fulfill the job,
Hmm.
but whether or not it's good, whether they have integrity in
Uh-huh.
the work,
Yeah.
or even the simple little things, taking pride of the work
Uh-huh.
and completions and what do you call it? I shouldn't say perfection, but the level of commitment to your work.
Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunately in that industry, it's not very
Hmm.
hard, very hard to have that kind of level service and commitment. Um, yeah, that what you said before, I think earlier was the genuine people around. In this place, I see a lot of people that, as I mentioned earlier, take on multiple hats. It's times persevere to, and I like that.
I guess when you are considered replaceable, when you're considering someone else replaceable, and when there's a high turnover rate, people keep quitting all the time. I think it's
Mm,
very difficult to expect any kind of accountability or integrity. But I think when there's authentic community that is flourishing and that is really shaping people into a certain positive way, I think there is a lot of advantages you can expect from your job satisfaction to the high quality work and
yeah,
all these different things.
yeah. It makes me to remember, Ben Carson.
Yeah.
His book Gifted Hands. I had the I hate reading. I don't know how it's about chemical engineering. That's probably why I changed. But yeah, after I hit rock bottom there, I think it might have been before Korea. I had I was reading Ben Carson's book, Gifted Hands, and I think there was the second book, the third or something like that. But I remembered
Think
one
big.
thing that I remembered.
Yeah. Think big.
Oh yes, 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 yes. But I started off with Gifted Hands.
Okay.
And I remember how his mother has a beard.
Yeah.
You know how like she doesn't have a flashy professional job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
She was a janitor.
Uh-huh.
But there was one quote that I remembered from her is that in whatever work you do it to the best of your ability.
Mm.
May like be it maybe, be it to become a janitor, be the best janitor you could be.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're a customer service, be the best customer service person you could ever be.
Mm.
Um, and it sticks. And it
Mm.
sticks. And she may not have a Mercedes Benz at that time when she was raising Ben Cousin and
Yeah.
others. But hey, look at Ben Cousins and the brother now.
Yeah.
And that's from a very tough mother. Like, a simple woman that was not even literate.
Yeah. It's amazing
It
how
is.
how 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 uh, how an illiterate person was able to turn somebody illiterate, almost illiterate, to very smart and very well educated and very competent man.
Yeah, and here we are. Often, sometimes I even think that, oh, I get depressed, I can't do this, I can't do that, it's just not enough. Why am I this or why am I that? And especially, I think it is tough during the whole isolation pandemic, whatever.
Yeah.
The lockdown, like, I don't know how many times we had lockdowns in Melbourne here. I think
Really?
we have 6 lockdowns.
What so what do you guys do when there's lockdown? Nobody moves?
We have curfews.
Wow.
We can travel within, initially the first lockdown, we can only travel within the 5 kilometers of our home
Wow.
radius. Um, and can only buy essentials.
Wow.
All hotels, hospitality, they're all shut. Cafes, restaurant, they only do takeouts or takeaways here in Australia, we say.
Wow.
And yeah, the first lockdown was hard.
Wow.
It plays in your mind, and when you think that, oh my gosh, because I live about 30 kilometers away from my parents,
Mm.
right? So we can't even visit families and relatives because at that time when the first pandemic broke out,
Mm.
it was contact.
Mm.
So they cut all those, and neighbors becoming, the ones that are reporting people, like they don't do it,
Oh.
and then they got fined and caught, and
Wow. That's
so
crazy.
that was the very first lockdown. The second, third, and the subsequent lockdowns we had, it's not as severe because we sort of like, yeah, we've done that. It's all right. We don't have to talk about toilet papers and stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Go to the supermarket and get our essentials.
Uh-huh.
But people are a bit slacking off. But still, it plays with your mind. It
Mm.
really does.
Mm. Yeah, I think in the rough times it's very crucial to stay still committed and still stay selfless, I guess. So, what does your day look like? What does your week look like when you work for the customer service?
Well, we started 8:30 to 5. There was no expectation to work overtime. Um, Fortunately, our regional manager are not a micromanage person.
Wow. Good.
I right?
Yeah.
I'm like, coming from a work that is like you have 8 o'clock or 8:30, 7 o'clock or 6:30 because it was waste company. Normally, we started really super early in the morning and then finish earlier as well in the day. So you have to like clock on and clock off.
Oh.
Uh, Coming from that sort of background to yeah, it's like yay! So yeah, like he even comes to me and say, Elsa, I don't really care exactly what time it starts or what time, so long as to get the job done and customers not complain and things like that. I'm like,
Wow.
so typically, I'm not a morning person.
Uh-huh.
Start at 8:30, yeah, between 8:30 to 9.
Wow.
And I finish at about 5 or sometimes 6 o'clock, depending
Okay.
on the day, depending on the workload. So it's a give and take
Oh.
thing. But if we work overtime, then you can finish earlier, or you can do anything in the hours of your day. But still, even though my manager gives me that sort of flexibility, um, you're in the office, right? When you are in the office, this is a pre-COVID time. Um, your other colleagues will look it's like if you just go off and go to cafe and have coffee and chill and chit chat and like take people lunch a lot. Miss lunch a lot. Then so I try to minimize that. So typically it's 8:30 to 5. Um, there's no clock in or clock out schedules. It's basically based on trust. And the performance of the measure of performance, I guess it's on the customer level, customer feedback, if they're happy with the service or not. And yeah, praise God. So I haven't had any customer complaint, even though
Wow.
I've been like times.
Wow. Even though what?
Even though I yell at them a few times. Oh yeah.
How do you how do you satisfy them and yell at them at the same time?
Well, let's put it this way. I have Friday night. Everyone like to leave early at Friday night or
Ah,
during work time.
okay.
They don't finish at 4, 3, 4. 4 instead of 5, or that sort of things. And every time without a fail, often, every time without a fail, and often that doesn't. Often they would call at 2 o'clock on Friday asking for a delivery on Monday. And all
Oh.
others finish at 2:30.
Oh.
The cutoff for next day service is like 12 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And times even interstate as well. And I'm like, really? Are you for real? It's like, I want to go home. I'll be like, hey, dude, look, this is the situation. Da, 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 da. You sure you want Monday? So I'm trying to negotiate with them.
Okay.
That was the place here is not that. At least it's not a matter of life and death. The
Oh.
previous one, logistic and the waste management, they always we service shopping centers and things like that. They always forgot and they always call us last minute when we already have like services on 3, 4 docks. And
Oh.
normally weekend services it's limited and they want the next day, which is on Saturday.
Oh.
I don't Saturday, but some drivers do
Oh.
on sort of like a shift or roster base.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just like, are you kidding me? So before I could say, are you kidding me?
Uh-huh.
Obviously we built that rapport before.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like, are you kidding me? It's like you've done it again. So they're pretty chill with me as well. Remember, I'm dealing with the rough people as well. So
Yeah.
they don't like to be wishy-washy. It's like it's either you say the yes or you say the F. 80% out of the 100, they prefer the F. Which I didn't say.
Yeah.
I didn't say, but I just gave it to them. It's like, are you kidding me? I just gave a bit of the attitude.
Uh-huh.
We've already got like this. You go and help me out. You go and help prioritize which one you want to service, and I'll get it done.
Mm.
That's when they mellow down. It's like, okay, fine. and you know,
Oh, I see.
I come at them. So it's not about yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, but it's I guess I sometimes I have that attitude and personality and character that can come out.
Uh-huh.
Maybe to a certain extent, some people may think that it's rude,
Uh-huh.
but to a certain extent, it works.
I think when there's a certain level of boundary, they respect you more instead of just
Yeah,
saying yes to their demand all the time.
yeah, yeah. So I know in customer service, I remember my dad always saying, "Customer is the king," and nobody is the king.
Wow,
He
that's
is the king.
that's a very beautiful mindset. Cause you always work like a slave if that's your attitude.
Yeah, so that's I've learned that from because I worked part time as well in restaurants while I was studying, and yeah, that's when you know um, previous managers, my restaurant managers also said the same. So customers say the customers are key. Whatever you say to the customer, it's always yes, and customers always correct. And I'm like, I just need I guess I need a discernment
Yeah,
to
that's
say that right or not, because I think to a certain extent, if I can compromise, I would go above and beyond to help you.
mm,
But if you cross that boundary, as you said, cross that line, I'm sorry, I refuse to deal with you. Because, especially with customer service, a lot of people abuse us.
mm,
You know, I received a call. Um, this is my very first job after graduating.
mm.
But thank God I was working in the hospitality industry already, like dealing with all these drunk people and
Ah,
lots of rubbish
uh,
and having to deal with them. And so it's not so much it's not too shocking for me.
uh-huh.
I remember there were once close to 5 o'clock. I was working at a telco company. That was my very first job doing the back system,
Mm,
doing provisioning back system connection.
mm,
That was a messy. That was a messy.
mm.
Um, and I got a call that literally the second word that they say to me, that he said to me was an F. It was so rude that I was like, I froze. I don't know how, like, what to say because he was so angry and just throwing all the F bomb to me. And initially, at first, I said to him, look, it's already 5 o'clock. Everyone is, it's home time. I can't help you in any way that I can at the moment because no one is here. I was like, I need to speak to the team leader. You're not helping, blah, 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 blah. So basically, she's undermining me. And then he started swearing. And I was like, sir, I'm sorry. Um, I, I refuse to handle your call. Continue swearing at me. Um, and say, how dare you say that to me? And I need to, what's your name? I'm going to report it to your team leader, blah, blah, blah. Fortunately, my team leader, he was actually a military man, an Englishman, military. I didn't get along with him at that time, but since that incident, I have a respect over him, for him now. And he was putting his scarf on and ready to storm out. I put that man's call on loudspeaker. So everyone in the office could hear him yelling at me, swearing at me, and cursing at me. Because I hang up after I told him, look, I refuse to speak with you if you continue to swear at me. If you want to talk and you want me to help, say it nicely, and I'll continue to help you. But unfortunately, it's home time. Can't can't. I he continued to continue to swear. I just hung up. A few seconds later, he called again, and that's when I put him on the speaker. So my team leader, heard it, and he just came into my little cubicles and just answered the call. Like, they're actually speaking to Elsa team leader, and I could hear your attitude towards her, and da 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 da. Unfortunately, it's not acceptable, and it is full time. It is 5 o'clock. Everyone else is already like shut. So best if you call again tomorrow. And I was like, I just couldn't bring myself to do the F, or to say the F word. I just couldn't. Like, no matter how angry and frustrated I am with the work and the people, the most I would say is just stupid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like, are you dumb or what? Yeah, it just doesn't come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I think some people are so used to saying stuff like that. Actually, one thing that I noticed in Korea is that they say since 2017 or whatever year, if you everything is recorded, and if you say anything nasty or anything um derogatory, we were going to fine you or going to punish you or something like that. Do you guys have anything like that launched?
Um, if the customer do that to you, no. But if you do to the customer, yeah, you get warning.
Oh, I guess that thing
So
is.
what is
I think that this new policy has been working pretty well because I think some people that are treated by customers roughly have taken some legal measures not, that now is the law, and it's just the sign is everywhere if you're rude to, and also the sign is also there like this is somebody's son, this is somebody's daughter, this is somebody's mother, and
yeah.
every
I
single
think
yeah.
we have that sort of campaign ever since the COVID started.
Mm.
A lot of people attack and abuse the healthcare worker, especially
Mm.
the front lines. Um, yeah, it's just yeah, they content.
Mm.
Unfortunately, sometimes we also have some nurses that are just in it for the money kind of
Yeah,
thing, and they'll be care about the work. And
yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, the attitude that they gave reflected.
Mm.
Yeah, we had a lot. Like, I mean, you can promote and get fined as much as you can, but hey, if the person is so low and have not much income, really, the
Yeah,
damage done to them.
yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I
And
think.
normally, these are the people that causes the problem.
Yeah, I think the the possibility of being able to be punished as a customer if they are rude to the service provider, I think if it's there, I don't think they're gonna say stuff like that as much.
We would definitely normally in my previous job the calls are recorded, but yeah, no,
Oh, I
in the
see.
country, no. I could actually say something, but like, nobody knows, especially now that sort of like you work from home a lot more,
Uh,
but it's your conscience, right?
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
People don't know, but it's between you and God.
Mm, that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I thank you so much for sharing your very volatile point of your
Yeah.
job experience, and instead of taking it on him, you're able to um, do it very calmly, and your manager also helped you. So I think it must have worked pretty well. So if you were to recommend anyone to take on your job that you're doing, what kind of personality or what kind of skills that do you think they would should have?
One one word came to mind. The first word that came to mind when after you asked that question is willingness.
Mm,
Not willingness to be trampled over,
mm,
but more on willingness to help.
mm. Wow, that's beautiful.
So that's I think if I were look for
Mm,
obviously the technicality of the identity future help,
mm,
but at the time the attitude of the people
mm,
first
mm,
um, acts that criteria.
mm. Wow, that's
And that word is still in my mind. Just worrying that help.
mm. Wow. Wow, thank you so much, Elsa. I think I learned a lot from you, and I didn't really I've never thought about this job, and really got to see how many people are working diligently so I can eat different things that are in my fridge. And
You would need to look at the ingredients now.
yeah, now I see more than ingredients. I see people's faces answering the phone call and taking orders and dealing with
Yeah,
customers and ordering things and delivering
yeah.
things and
Things are pretty complex nowadays, but yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much. Do you think I can interview again, maybe a few years later?
Sure.
I think
Sure.
you'll have more stories and experiences by then.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
thank you, Elsa. I hope you have a great evening and enjoy baking on the side.
Yes. Will do. That's my baking therapy that I took up COVID, but I'll save that for another time.
Sure, 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 sure. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks.
for your time. It's great to catch up
Yes.
with you.
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Bye
All right. Stay safe.
bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.